A big reason people love living in Sonoma County is the countryside. The rolling hills, the vineyards, the small farms, the pastoral land that transitions into redwoods is really something special. There is a feeling that's hard to describe until you're standing in the middle of it. If you dream of owning country property in this stunning corner of the world, there are a few things that you should understand, and that is exactly what this video series is about. I'm Rachel, your Sonoma County Realtor, here to show you the best of Northern California living. I work with many buyers who are coming from the Bay Area or from more urban neighborhoods, and they're looking for space. Not just a larger house, but land, a place where their kids can run outside, a garden, maybe animals, and privacy. The good news is we truly have a lot to offer here. From the countryside outside of Sebastopol and Santa Rosa to the hills near Healdsburg and West Petaluma, there are beautiful properties available. Acreage, barns, workshops, but buying country property is different than buying in a neighborhood with sidewalks and city utilities. With rural property, you're not just evaluating the house itself, you're evaluating the systems that support it. You're evaluating the land, and you're taking on a different level of responsibility as a homeowner. There are a handful of areas that can significantly impact your plans, your budget, and even your ability to get insurance. This series is going to cover wells and water availability, septic systems, fire risk and insurance, zoning and use restrictions, and access and easements. The things that don't show up in the listing photos but absolutely matter. And without a doubt, having an experienced real estate agent matters even more with country property. There are additional reports to request, county departments to consult, inspections to schedule, and negotiations that need to happen so that your pocketbook is protected and your investment is a sound one. These transactions have more moving parts, and you want someone who understands how they connect and how to advocate for you. If you are thinking about country property in Sonoma County, reach out and let's talk about your goals. I would love to help you think through what kind of land and infrastructure will truly support the lifestyle you're envisioning. Today, we're starting with the foundation of it all, water. Because on rural property, you're not connected to city water. In most cases, you're relying on a well, and that means you need to understand exactly what that well can and can't support. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. This video is meant to give you a broad overview. When I'm working with clients on property with a well, we dive much deeper and bring in the right professionals to evaluate the systems. Let's start with a basic understanding of groundwater. There are more than 40,000 wells in Sonoma County. Rural groundwater is not unusual here. It's common, but it deserves careful attention. And let's start with something that surprises many buyers. Groundwater is not an underground river moving quickly beneath your property. It moves slowly through rock and soil formations called aquifers, sometimes at a rate measured in feet per year. Think of it more like water moving through a sponge than flowing through a pipe. That matters because the geology under your parcel determines how much water is available and how reliably it can be produced. Sonoma County has a mix of aquifer types. Some areas sit over sedimentary formations, sand and gravel that can allow stronger well yields. Other areas rely on volcanic rock or fractured bedrock, where water moves through cracks and fissures. Those wells can be far more variable. Two properties a mile apart can have completely different well performance because of what's happening underground. When I represent a buyer on country property, I'm not making assumptions based on the neighborhood. We need to have that specific well evaluated on that specific parcel with that specific geology. Let's talk about what a well actually is. A well is not just a pipe in the ground. It's a constructed and engineered system. A borehole is drilled into the earth and steel or plastic casing is installed to prevent collapse. The casing is sealed to protect the aquifer from surface contamination, and a pump is installed at the appropriate depth. The well is developed and typically tested for yield. When I'm helping someone evaluate a well, I focus on four main things: documentation, production, a systems check, and water quality. Let's walk through each one. Documentation. Know your history. I always ask whether the seller has the original well log. That document shows the depth of the well, the materials encountered during drilling, and often the initial yield. Well logs are confidential in California, so we need the seller's permission to access them, but when available, they give us valuable context. I also want to know how old is the well, how old is the pump, has there been maintenance or repair work, and is there records of that, and has the performance changed over time? A well that has been responsibly maintained tells a different story than one with no records at all. The next area is production. Does it support your lifestyle? Yield is typically measured in gallons per minute, but the number alone doesn't tell the whole story. The real question is, does this well support the life that you plan to live on the property? Are you considering an ADU or an addition, a vineyard or landscaping irrigation, animals or a pool? A well that comfortably supports a modest household may not support expansion without upgrades. Well performance can also change over time. Groundwater levels fluctuate seasonally, and there is a period that typically falls from July to November that's considered dry season for well production testing in Sonoma County. This groundwater availability map that was produced by Sonoma County Permit Department is a helpful guide to show you where water tends to be more plentiful and where it tends to be more scarce or variable. The pink areas show low or highly variable water yield areas. The light blue is marginal, and the dark blue is major groundwater basin areas. You can see that the 101 corridor tends to have good groundwater availability. And there are 3 priority groundwater basins: Petaluma Valley, Santa Rosa Plain, and Sonoma Valley. Again, this map is a helpful guide, but the water availability is still property specific, depending on the depth of the well and the geology where the well is drilled. I want to make sure that the infrastructure aligns with your long-term vision. Beautiful land without sufficient water can seriously limit potential. The next item on our list is a complete systems check. A comprehensive well inspection will include analysis of the state of the well, whether the well cap is tight and secure, if there appear to be any cracks in the well casing. If so, they should be able to tell us if the installation of a liner is possible to repair that issue. They will assess any filtration systems such as water softeners, calcite filters, UV filters, etc., and look at the electrical that's running to the well to see if that is up to current code standards. They'll look at the pressure tank and finish with a written report that includes production and assessment of the well systems and a list of any recommended repairs or maintenance. And the last of the topics that we're going to cover today is water quality. Is your water safe to drink? Private wells are not regulated the way that municipal systems are. Testing is the homeowner's responsibility. At a minimum, drinking water wells should be tested annually for bacteria. Nitrates should also be monitored, particularly in areas with agriculture activity or septic systems. Broader mineral and chemical testing should be done periodically to establish a baseline. In Sonoma County, potential concerns can include bacteria, nitrates, iron and manganese, arsenic, petroleum compounds in certain regions, volatile organic compounds, particularly for properties which have had some kind of known leakage or spill nearby, say from a dry cleaner or another industrial activity, and finally, pesticides. This is not a comprehensive list of everything you can test for. There are thousands of potential contaminants that water testing companies can analyze the water for. That's why it's important to consult with a well expert who is familiar with the area and potential concerns and can also address treatment options. Some of these occur naturally depending on the surrounding rock, and others are linked to human activity. Sometimes issues reveal themselves through staining or odor or taste changes, but other contaminants have no obvious signs. Testing is the only way to know. For my clients, I want water testing completed during escrow, so we're making decisions with full information. This isn't meant to make rural living sound complicated. It's meant to highlight that country property requires a different level of engagement. And for many people, that's part of the appeal. There's a sense of connection and responsibility that comes with it. I want to make it clear that I'm not a professional well contractor or water analyst. I am a realtor and an advisor to my clients about navigating all things real estate. This video is a broad overview, but we go into even more detail when I'm helping a client sell or purchase a home. If you're considering country property in Sonoma County, whether that's acreage outside Sebastopol, a view property in Healdsburg, land in Penngrove, or something tucked into the hills of Santa Rosa, water is not something you want to evaluate casually. This is where experience matters. Country transactions have more layers, more moving parts, more questions that need to be asked early and answered clearly. If you are thinking about making a move, I would be honored to help you navigate it thoughtfully. Reach out and let's talk about what you're envisioning. I'll help you determine whether the land and the infrastructure beneath it truly supports the lifestyle you're planning. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like and share. And in the next episode, we're going to be talking about septic systems and how bedroom count, expansion plans, and soil conditions can directly affect what you're able to do with your property. Until next time.